I know that we have defended Anthony D'Alessandro many a times. We have praised the writers over at Deadline. He's making it harder each and every week. Let me tell you, there are some lines in here where it's just tough because, again, we're talking about historically when adjusted for inflation, or not even adjusted for inflation, just in terms of the number of people who went to go see a movie this weekend, probably the worst in modern movie history. This is bad for summer box offices. This is bad.
Indeed.
A summer box office that's supposed to have as many blockbusters, I say that in air quotations, as this one's supposed to have.
Well, the blockbusters in terms of the budget they spend, yes. Maybe not necessarily in the returns they get on the gross receipts, but yeah, just to kind of give everybody the numbers real quick, this is where we are at. After 10 days in the box office. 10 days. Now, I believe the international box office, I'm 99.9% sure that was updated for, yes, that was, because last weekend it was 77 million. So that is now updated for this entire week through this weekend. $210 million. Now, if this movie had opened its 3-day weekend with $200 million or $210 million globally, that would have been pretty bad for a movie this size. The fact that it's taken 10 days to get to this point is an absolute train wreck from a financial perspective. This is an absolute freaking train wreck. And
this makes Black Adam look like a blockbuster.
Yes, it does. Yes. Look, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson right now is like, I'm not the worst one anymore. Y'all not talking about me anymore. And it's like, no. And I mean, I like The Rock. I didn't watch. I think did I watch all?
We don't know. We weren't there.
Yeah, I guess not. I don't remember. I think I did watch it when it came on HBO Max. But I mean, it was okay. I just never been a big DC guy, so I never really follow a lot of the characters. I didn't really know much about them. But anyway, I mean, you got The Flash, and of course, my opinion is this movie was doomed the moment that that whole crew way back when in the day when Zack Snyder and those guys decided, hey, let's cast Ezra Miller. I think it was over at that point.
It's funny watching people catch up to that because I remember my first video talking about the casting. I was like, and we saw him preparing in Zack Snyder's universe. I'm like, this is by far the worst rendition that I've ever seen of Barry Allen Flash, like in any capacity. He's terrible. And people push back on that. Now everybody's catching up, so it's interesting to see. So it's a terrible casting, and obviously, considering all the choking women and throwing chairs and
breaking and entering,
beating up dart players. Like, that guy's
gunpoint.
Yeah, that doesn't help him at all. Not at all.
Having so public a bout with, I mean, just a cornucopia of mental health issues. I mean, my God.
Just choke slamming the one woman. Yeah, just the one.
Hey, it's okay. He's coming out with his own brand of bullet baby soothers. You'll be fine. Everything will be just fine.
Anyway, this is where we're at. Let me go to the Deadline article on this because, as Pro alluded to correctly earlier, some of this is kind of getting funny. This is from Anthony D'Alessandro. Now,
I also want to say that while we talked about Ezra Miller, I held back on about a dozen Hunter Biden jokes that would have fit well with it, but I'm doing my best for it.
Where do you think they hit it with Ezra?
Yeah, please tell me there's pictures on that laptop of Ezra too. My God, that would just
I can make it happen. I did save some of the pictures. I can do anything right now.
Oh boy, well, Steven's already working on that one.
No, I'm not, because I'll get you Duante's and make it.
Oh Lord, Spider-Verse swinging ahead of Elemental after Game of Chicken, Flash edging out. So the point was they didn't know coming into this weekend who was really going to top out at the box office in terms of the money.
Top out is a very kind way of saying what these two films did.
Yeah, well, they suck, but I'm like, somebody had to come out on top of the box office this weekend. But let's go with this. This is as of last night. I'm surprised he hadn't updated this from today, but I'll check again. I should have had.
Honestly, I can't blame him at this point. What more is there to report on movies that make no money?
He may not have, but I'm just going to refresh real quick because I thought there's always a Sunday update for D'Alessandro here. Let me just scroll back because there's typically. Yeah, here we go. That's Nancy's international box office. Little Mermaid nears 500. So she's confirming, no, Little Mermaid's still not going to hit 500 million. It got close. It's like the biggest insult to Disney. It got close, but not quite. So no, it's still here Saturday PM. So let's check this out. $19.4 million for Spider-Verse, $18.3 million for Elemental, which anybody watch that one? Did anybody know about it?
No, it's sitting there, but you haven't paid me enough to actually press play.
Okay.
Let's say it again. We are heading into the Independence Day week, and we have 2 films at the top, and neither topped $20 million.
I will say,
incredible.
I used to go watch every single Disney movie that came out. Disney Animation and Pixar. I used to go every single weekend to go watch the movies. And it's been a while since I've had that urge to go and watch a Disney movie in theaters. It's just the magic is completely gone.
Well,
and I used to spend a lot of money on watching those
Take a small
movies.
child with you, though. You can't imagine the fun of no longer explaining that they shouldn't put popcorn up their nose and instead explaining gender theory as you put them in their car seat. It's great. The questions you get at the end of these things.
Well, Carrie, you picked up on something really important there. There's no enthusiasm for these projects. And that's exactly what Eric has been talking about in the comic book industry, just entertainment in general. Like the fact that I could not be more disinterested about a big budget live action Flash film is probably the most depressing thing that has ever
You're a big Flash guy. That Flash was who got me into comics.
Same, bro. Same. I know a thing or two about Flash. All right. This isn't even half of them. It's the other half over here. My singles are in storage in the long boxes. I should be over the freaking moon, but I could not be more, not just disinterested, but annoyed and irritated. It's like, y'all did this? Eric, you said earlier, like, this is the dumbest version of Barry Allen I've ever seen. It's not any version of anyone who's ever been the Flash.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's sad to say that Grant Gustin has done a better Flash performance in the first, let's say, 3 seasons of CW than we have seen at all within these films, including Snyderverse.
He at least looks like he could pull off the look of like New 52 and forwards Barry Allen.
Yeah.
Not pre-52 where Barry Allen was freaking jacked still.
Yeah.
they made everybody a little more scrawny.
I'm to the point to where I'm just honestly really glad I wasn't emotionally invested into either Marvel or DC growing up. Because right now it's just disappointment after disappointment. Because I didn't really get into comics until I was, out of high school, moved away, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really have that, I'm trying to think of the right word. I wasn't surrounded by them. I didn't have the opportunity to really get into them. And so I feel bad for the fans more than anything, because the reason they even have this content to make these half-assed movies is because the fans that have been supporting these IPs for decades, and then they just go and give the fans the finger. Just like, no, we're not going to go off of what you've learned and what you've become emotionally attached to for the last 20 years.
Yeah, well, this is an important this is an important trade that they made. They decided to trade their guaranteed audience that had been supporting as you said, Kara, been supporting this stuff and elevated it to the point of being iconic that it was, and I say was specifically because it certainly doesn't feel like it is anymore. They traded that for the quick, general audience dollar, the normie dollar, because they realized that, oh yeah, these superhero films have a wide appeal, so we can get some extra money on that. But at the same time, they ticked off all of us long-standing lifers and pushed us out. So now they're otherwise guaranteed money, their guaranteed revenue and customer base, we're gone. They said, this isn't for you anymore. We said, bet. Fine, we'll go do it our damn selves. It's exactly what Eric's doing. And now the content has gotten to the point where it's just so bad in general that even the general audience normies, which are a fleeting, fickle audience anyway, they don't care about these characters. No. They just care about being a part of the conversation. They just care about being able to talk about whatever the new popular thing is. As soon as it's no longer the popular thing, they're gone. And that's what you're seeing now.
Yep,
now they're left with neither audience.
That's exactly what I was about. That was a point that I was going to make. They sacrificed folks like ourselves, pushed comic book lifers and people that would at least would have at least been interested, and they sacrificed for a normie audience that doesn't really even exist, that would have been around anyway, right? Because that's what normies do. They move to genre to genre. They move genre to genre. Now you're at a point to where they're becoming less interested. We're like, we've long been done, so you're left with nothing. You're left with absolutely nothing. So it's unfortunate because you spend your life. I know I pretty sure I can speak with Andrew or for Andrew on this as well, where you're like seeing live action versions of these characters or them come to life is something that you looked forward to, right? And now you had all this investment going in to comic book based material, only for them to come to the screen and they're bastardized versions of themselves. Like, what have we been waiting all this time for? And yeah, it's unfortunate because a Flash, it was literally the character that got me into comics. Now, granted, Wally, when I was growing up, was the Flash at the time, but still, the character in itself was who got me into comic books. And for a film to exist and me not be like falling over people to try to be the first guy to view that, shows just how they've lost us, and they're left now with a bunch of just, I guess, access media types and just people that aren't really interested or intrigued by this. And it's so unfortunate because, and I make this point years ago, and people will go find these videos where I said they're going to burn this bad boy to the ground, and we're going to be the ones that are left to kind of do something with the ashes, because they're going to move on to the next thing, probably burn that into the ground. And now it's just us trying to rebuild that connection with the audience when it comes to American comic book stuff, because DC and Marvel does not have that enthusiasm. They can't inject that anymore. They can't do it. They can't spin their way. They used to be able to do that. They can't do it that way anymore. They can't spin their way into getting people stoked about it. So they're just bleeding money, and it's unfortunate.
You've done a number of videos about it, saying that you could do basically a 1-to-1 adaptation. The normies aren't going to care. They don't know the difference because they don't know these characters from Adam. Yeah.
Why deviate?
So you made your job harder, and you wound up with less money on the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to say, as a fake fan, as I hold up my camera, I know nothing about comic books and collectibles or anything, but Spider-Man was mine. The Fox Kids cartoon, remembers that one? The way they did it really bad, and they tortured all kids not finding Mary Jane. And then you see the down.
X-Men cartoon was better. I hate to say it.
X-Men was better. It was better.
Okay.
But then they did Spider-Man 2099, and we don't talk about that. But that's just it. We're no longer seeing these people that have souls in comics, in shows, in every type of media. They're not giving them a soul. They're not giving them a character. They're just saying, hey, look, they're black. You're black, right? You're Chinese. Well, this guy has half Chinese parents. You're going to love this book. They have no idea. No idea.
You're going to like it because the guy looks like you. You're going to like it.
I've seen me in a mirror. I don't want them looking like me. I don't want to see a pasty ass Canadian running around trying to save people and apologizing for it. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
These people that are in charge of these, they don't know who these characters are either, and that's part of the problem. And they also don't care to learn. And
that's actually a little statue of Steven right there.
The little MODOK.
That's actually a MODOK. I love that. But there's actually someone 3D printed a new face for that statue, specifically for the one from the movie. So you can actually get the really ugly MODOK and put it in that legend statue.
So speaking about them not understanding the characters, I have been thinking while you all have been speaking about who could have possibly been cast as the Flash who would have been worse than Ezra Millers.
That's a good point.
And I only have two
Amber
that I've come up
Heard.
with so
I don't
far.
know. Like, let's really scrape the bottom of the
Tony
barrel.
Danza.
Okay, I'll take Tony Danza. I thought of Josh Gad. That would be worse. And Paul Rubin. That's all I've got. But now that you say Tony Danza,
you didn't stipulate that we could go outside the necessary body type. So
I was about to say, I bet Josh Gad would still be able to have better running form than
would have made
Ezra
a
Miller.
great Flash.
Honestly, at the end of the day,
I would go watch
Justin
Lizzo
Bieber.
Flash, honestly, for the laughs.
Justin Bieber. Just Justin Bieber. Let's just leave it at Justin Bieber and see what the hell happened.